So the first device we're looking at in our live session this evening is the Samsung Series 5. You'll recognise it from last year. It was one of the first of the Ultrabook designs from Samsung. It's remained the same, but now it's got Ivy Bridge. And in this version, which is the Ultra Touch, we've obviously got the touchscreen as well. Now, this model is actually with SSD as well, which makes quite a bit of difference. But let me just show you around the device before, and let me tell you about the device, because we've had one in the family for nearly a year now, and it's proved to be a really, really solid device. It hasn't caused me any problems, and when I say that, I mean my wife that's using it, who's not really computer literate, hasn't really asked me to do much to it, which is a great sign. It means things aren't going wrong. It means it's solid, and she's pretty happy with it. And certainly after a year, we've seen the performance is still up there as it was when we got the device. Let's just go around the device then. Got full SD, and this is what I like about this device. It's actually the ports really match certainly my requirements, and I'm sure they will a lot of other people's as well. Full SD card slot, 2 USB ports there. I'm not sure if they're 3 or 2 on this side, because the version 3 is on this side. That's USB 3 with sync and charge, and you've got a full Gig Ethernet port there, so that is really helpful if you're in a sort of a desk scenario. Full HDMI, that makes it easier to add your monitor in, and then if you need it, you've got a mini VGA, and the adapter comes with the Samsung, so you can use that to attach to VGA projectors, for example. Here's your power in here, and here's a combination headset microphone port. Nothing else really around the device. You've got a set of lights here, but on the bottom it's worth mentioning you've got an access panel for SSD up here, memory here, and Wi-Fi card you can also access here, although you're probably not going to want to change it out because it's a Centrino 6235 in here, which is dual channel, dual band, so it goes up to 300 megabits a second and is really, really good. I think the antenna and the module are combined really well in this device to give you some really good top quality Wi-Fi capability. Memory in this one is 8 gigs. There's one slot, so I believe there's 2 on board, and then you can add the slot. I'm not sure. Maybe I could open that up later for us to just have a double check on what slot that is there. The hard drive version comes with a 7mm hard drive in here, so if you're going to upgrade, and you can, from hard drive to SSD, 7mm hard drive, and I'm actually testing one from what is it, My Digital Discount. They have their BP4 7mm SSD, which I'm going to slot in to my wife's hard drive version. Not needed on this one. This is a Samsung SSD in this one. Overall, really nice build. I love the materials used on this, and it's quiet as well. It's quiet and cool, and it's a really I think I called it a polite laptop, a polite Ultrabook in my full review of it earlier last year. But if we open it up, still got the same sort of layout, same keyboard, same look as on the original Samsung. Unfortunately, it's still only 1366 by 768, and I know a lot of people are really not happy with that sort of resolution on a 13-inch screen. I agree there would be more happy people if it was 1600 by 900. I'm not sure whether 1920 by 1080 is really for mainstream. Certainly font sizes and the battery life issue, the cost issue might be a little bit prohibitive, push it slightly out of the intended sort of mainstream market for this device. Speakers are pretty good on this. The brightness, on the screen is really nice, and it is not a full IPS, but it is certainly a good set of viewing angles. There's a little bit of inversion on that, but overall it's not too bad. It's not an IPS panel though, so it's not full 180 viewing angles. Keyboard is not backlit, but very, very good keyboard, and I can say that with some confidence because I've used it a lot, and I find it certainly better than most Ultrabooks. The XPS 12 is better, the Lenovo Carbon X1 is better, and possibly the Yoga 13 is better. That doesn't have a backlight, but it does have a lovely keyboard as well. Trackpad with separate mouse buttons is really nice. I really like to see that. I think that really helps make life a little bit more comfortable when you're using the laptop continuously, to do some typing and some editing. So SSD on this is really fast, but not the fastest. So it's not as fast as, say, for example, the Asus UX31 A, and it's not as fast as the one on the Tai Chi as well, but we're getting sequential speeds of sort of 350, 400 megabytes a second, and then 4K write speeds of I think around 4. It's not huge, but it's around 4 megabytes a second, which is acceptable, way better than a hard drive. Of course, access speeds pretty good on that as well. Battery life. Now, something to mention on battery life. This version has a slightly bigger battery than the original version. The original version had a 45 watt hour battery. Rule of thumb on Ultrabooks is that you divide the watt hours by 10 to get a figure of battery life for average web online usage. So with a 45 watt hour battery life, simple rule of thumb, 4.5 hours of battery life, and that applies to most devices. Some devices are slightly better, you'll get 10% more battery life out. Some devices are worse, and those will be the ones with the 1920 by 1080 screen, slightly cheaper build inside, and you'll lose 10 to 15% on those. But yeah, plus minus 10% on the rule of thumb, divide by 10. This one has 54 watt hours of battery in it, so 5 hours, and I think 5.5 hours is pretty safe to say. I've been using it for some time, and I'm pretty confident that it's very efficient and does a good job with squeezing as much as it can out of that battery. Samsung do have a great engineering skills when it comes to making devices efficient. It's slightly heavier than the original Samsung Series 5. It's 1.6 kilos. So although you get the slightly bigger battery, you're going to pay in terms of weight by having an extra 200 grams because of the screen and because of the extra battery. It is slightly thicker. I mean, less than a millimeter thicker than the original Samsung Series 5, but not that you would notice, and not that it should come anywhere on your list of issues for this device. Overall, though, it's kind of good all round for this. There's things that aren't the best in the class, but everything on this is solid, including the ports, the build, the style, the battery life, the screen, the keyboard, and the mouse. So overall, this is a $1,000 touch Windows 8 Ultrabook with SSD, and it gets my recommendation straight away because I think it's one of the best all-round devices. I recommend it to people that are looking for a sort of mainstream Ultrabook without any specific needs in mind, and I think I certainly have the two people that I've recommended this to that have bought it are certainly very happy with it, so gets absolutely my thumbs up. So the cheaper versions of this go right down to $599, I believe, probably a bit less now. And I believe you can get a 256 gig version of this on a Core i7. So you could be looking at up to $1,200 if you really pack it out with the Ultimate. No backlight on the keyboard, yeah, okay, and it's got a 136 by 66 by 768 screen, which is not optimal. 1600 by 900 would have been better, but actually I think this is a really good all-round Ultrabook. And that is the Samsung Series 5. So what we're going to do next in the live session here is, and excuse the really poor quality of editing on the camera here today. I've only got one cam set up. In the next session we'll go over the Asus Tai Chi 21. That's the one, the 11.6 inch device with the two screens, so that'll take a little bit more to demo. So thanks for watching this on YouTube. People in the chat session, hang around because I'm just going to sign off and then we'll restart to do the next session. Thanks for watching.